It's Andrea from AndreaTully.com. Thanks so much for watching this video, and I am still in Seattle. If you watched my last video, I've been here for an ophthalmology conference, and I wanted to take this time away from work where I have some extra time to film a couple YouTube videos answering some of your email questions. So I've got a bunch of email questions today. I'm going to try to answer a bunch of them, and I hope you guys enjoy these videos. So the first email I have is from someone named Nicholas, and Nicholas says, "Hi Andrea, what was your study abroad experience like? Do you regret it at all? What are the pros and cons personally and related to medical school? My school has a campus in Morocco, so the only extra fees would be travel fees." That's awesome. Okay, so yeah, I studied abroad when I was a junior in college, and so I've talked about this in a few of my videos, but I went to Butler University in Indianapolis. I majored in chemistry and English. I did pretty much all my pre-med classes my freshman and sophomore year, and I was able to get them all done because I took organic chemistry over the summer after my freshman year. So freshman year, I took regular chemistry, regular biology, and calculus, and then I also think I took psychology, and then the summer between freshman and sophomore year, I took organic chemistry, which was an 8-week class over the summer. And I took that, and then I also took an English literature class where I got to go to England for a couple weeks, which was really cool. And then my sophomore year, I took physics, cell and molecular biology, genetics. Not biochemistry, and I also took analytical chemistry. Took another chemistry class. Inorganic chemistry. That's what I took, inorganic chemistry. See, I can't even remember it so long ago. So I took all of those sophomore year, and then I was also taking like French and some of the other required classes. We had to take like a cultural class on the Middle East and something else for Butler. So those were the main classes that I took. I was also in Butler's honor program, and I took some honors classes there. Through Butler, I took one on like architecture, and I took one on team building and like cool random stuff like that. So that's what I did freshman and sophomore year, and that basically allowed me to get pretty much most of my science classes out of the way. And then the summer of my sophomore year, I studied for the MCAT. I took a Kaplan course, and I studied my butt off for the MCAT all summer long. I studied for like 8-10 hours a day. I took practice tests on the weekends. I took tons of full-length practice tests. I studied really hard all summer. And then in August, the very beginning of August, I took the MCAT. And then like the week after I took the MCAT, so this was right at the beginning of my junior year in college, I went to England for a whole semester studying abroad. And it was awesome. So I did an English literature study abroad program. You can do any kind of study abroad program that you like, but I had done all these science classes, and then I really wanted to take a semester and focus on my English major, and I was able to get like 15 credits, I think, that were straight towards my English major, and then I had to take another class on British history that didn't actually go towards my English major. It was just another class, but to get that many credit hours in one semester just towards English was very helpful for my degree. So I traveled through the University of Evansville, which is another college in Indiana, and they have a study abroad program in England called Harlexton, and it's about an hour north of London, and it's this beautiful castle that you get to live in, and it's just insane. It's not a castle, it's a manor house, but it looked to me like a castle, and we got to live there for 5 months, and it was just the best experience ever. And so I am a huge proponent of studying abroad. I think it is just amazing. And so here are the reasons why I think you, Nicholas, and anyone else should try to study abroad. So number one, studying abroad is an opportunity that you'll never have again in your life. When are you going to be able to live in a foreign country for 5 months out of your life and not have to worry about like having a job or rent or anything? Like you have someone taking care of you and allowing you to like soak up living in another country, which is just such an incredible opportunity and something that will shape you and be with you, those experiences for your whole life. And so I think that it's fantastic. So that's one reason, because you'll never have another opportunity to do something like that again. The other thing is that you're going when you're in your very early 20s. I was 20 when I went, and that's the time in your life where it's like your chance to kind of spread your wings and get this independence and show yourself that you can travel around Europe all by yourself and kind of just like leave the nest. You know, if you've been living with your parents while you're in college, or living in a dorm with a roommate, or living in a sorority, like this is your time to go out and explore and still do it kind of in a safe way. I think that studying abroad is like the way to do that and just find yourself and be independent and have that experience in your 20s, which is just so wonderful. So that's another thing. Another reason I think studying abroad is so great is because you get to learn all of these amazing things about another culture that you don't learn just by traveling somewhere for like a couple weeks. And so being immersed into another country for 5 months is a completely different experience than you have just going somewhere on vacation. And so you learn so much about just what the day-to-day life is like in another country. And it just enriches you as a person in a way that nothing else does that for you. So I think that's a great thing about studying abroad. And then also, it's a wonderful thing that you'll have on your resume that you can talk about forever. And so people are going to want to know, like, what did you learn about and what did you do while you were there? And so it's going to be something that you can talk about, something that makes you more unique. Wherever you've studied abroad, it's just another cool thing that's making you a unique and interesting applicant for whatever future profession you decide to do. And so for me, studying in England and really focusing on English literature, and so I was reading Shakespeare and Milton and Donne, and I was also like getting to see I got to see Stratford and everywhere that Shakespeare lived and breathed, and I got to see the huge churches and cathedrals that were inspiration for the writers, and just really see the landscape that I was reading about. And so I think that made it all just so much better, and really helped me gain such an appreciation for English literature, and made me fall in love with poetry and fall in love with the Renaissance and all the works of art from that time period, and then to see the paintings and just everything. It's just so incredible, and an opportunity that I would not trade for anything in the world. It was the best experience I had in all of college for sure, and I think is something that those memories will stay with me forever. And then also, it's just so different than being in college. There's not like frat parties and like college events and all those fun things that are so fun about college, and also great that I wouldn't trade for anything. But studying abroad is so different, and you're young, and we had such a blast and partied and like went out and danced, and I had so much fun there in a different way than you have in college. And some of those nights with my girlfriends that I studied abroad with, it was the most fun I'd ever had. And after being so like hyper focused on studying for medical school, studying as a pre-med in college, getting to just kind of like let my hair down and explore Paris and Prague and Ireland and Stockholm and all these amazing Barcelona, these places that I got to go with my friends. It was just the best experience. I just loved every minute of studying abroad. So I would highly, highly recommend it. I think there's so many pros. I can't even go on because I could just talk about it forever. It's so wonderful. And then, there's certainly cons about studying abroad. So I think the biggest cons are, one is that it can be really expensive. So you want to find a program who supports you. I had a scholarship that paid my tuition at Butler, and part of that scholarship I think was able to be transferred onto my tuition for studying abroad, and so that definitely helped with the cost for me. So you want to find some kind of scholarship or some kind of program that you can afford, because being abroad is really expensive. And then just the cost of living when you're studying abroad is also really expensive. So like food in England when I was there in 2008, the exchange rate was expensive, and it was expensive to be there, and Europe is still expensive today. And so depending on where you're going to go and where you're going to study abroad, then that makes things difficult too. So just think about the expense. The other thing is that it's really hard to fit into your course load. And so if you do want to study abroad, you need to plan ahead, and you need to think about how you're going to do it. So going into college, think to yourself, I might want to study abroad, and start talking to your academic advisor about it. Start trying to figure out what semester would be good to go. I personally think that first semester of junior year was like the best time. And it would have been a good time to go even if I hadn't taken the MCAT, because most people would take the MCAT in the spring of their junior year. And so even if I hadn't taken the MCAT and I still had to take science classes while I was studying abroad, I think maybe it would have worked out. So if you want to do it, then you just have to figure out how it's going to work in your course load and make sure that you can still get all the credits that you need to graduate and still figure out when you're going to take the MCAT and have all those classes for the MCAT and make it all work, because you can make it work and it's totally worth it. So those are some of the cons. The other thing is that it could just be dangerous, and you want to know that you're staying at a good, reputable place, and you want to feel comfortable, and you want to feel like it's a good experience, and that you're, supported, and that you have a safe place to sleep at night. And we stayed in a lot of shady hostels, and I spent many a night in a train station, like sleeping with a little blanket on a bench, which probably looking back was not the safest thing to do. But that's, like, we were traveling all weekend, and so I was sleeping on the floor of airports so that I could get the cheapest, like, Ryanair flight for €30 the next day or whatever. And so, that was almost 10 years ago that I did that. So looking back, I would just say to make sure that you're safe and make sure that you're making good decisions and that you're taking care of yourself, because if you get into trouble and you're not a citizen of that country, or you get hurt and you have to go to the hospital, or you get like in legal trouble, you don't want to mess with any of that. So I would just say, like, make sure you're in a safe place, make sure you're taking care of yourself, and make sure you're being smart and making good decisions. So those are I don't know if that's a con, that's more just like a tip. So those are my experiences about traveling abroad. The other thing I wanted to mention and throw in there is that one of my best friends from undergrad, Brian Rochford, who is a dentist, he's doing his orthodontic residency, and we made a video together all about his advice and what he thinks the difference between dental school and medical school is. He studied abroad at the exact same time that I did, and he was a Spanish major in college, and so he studied abroad in Spain and did this crazy Spanish immersion program and was able to get a ton of credits towards his Spanish major because he was studying abroad. So I've mentioned this before in another video, but I think that majoring in a foreign language is like the way to go. If I could back up and do college all over again, I love my English major, so I don't know if I would change anything. But if I didn't want to major in English and I had to choose something else, I would totally have majored in Spanish. Or French or Russian or whatever you want, like anything, Mandarin, and go study abroad in China. How cool would that be? You should do that. That would be so cool. Anyways, I think that being a foreign language major not only makes you such a desirable job applicant for anything you do, but it also, just like, what a great skill to have. And if you're going to go to college to get 4 years of education in something that is not going to be your career, why not take that opportunity to learn a foreign language? Like, what a great skill to have. And so if you do that, then you can book your studying abroad around the foreign language that you're studying and get kind of like a double whammy. One of my sorority sisters studied abroad in France. She lived in the south of France. I went and visited her when I was studying abroad. And she did this really intense French immersion program where she lived in the city with a family for most of the time, but then for several weeks she had to go out in the country and live with a rural family, like out in the middle of nowhere, in a whole community that spoke zero English, none. And so it was a 100% immersive, very intensive program where she was out like milking cows, only speaking French. And just think of what a cool life experience that would be. And when you're 20, like, what else are you going to do with your life? Man, I wish I could be 20 again. I would go back and do so many of these things. So anyways, Nicholas, I think you should totally study abroad, especially in Morocco. What an amazing place to go. Just stay safe, take care of yourself, be smart, plan it all out. And yes, I would recommend studying abroad to anyone. So I hope this helped you guys, gave you some motivation to figure out how you're going to fit studying abroad into your undergrad routine. And I'll talk to y'all later. Bye!